Today's presentation is about visualization and optimization in Seer. Some of you may or may not have seen last week's presentation where we discussed multi-system and multi-asset backtesting in Seer. If you haven't, go check out the seertrading.com website for the past recorded webinars. Last week's webinar was really a big hit. We got a lot of good comments about it. So go check that out. And I guess let's just get going. If any of you have heard me talk before, you know that I don't like to talk for more than like 20 minutes or so. I even lose concentration listening to my own voice for that long. So let's just hit the ground running. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to open up one of the existing systems in Seer. I like to use this one as an example, the commodity channel index example. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be showing you how to set some optimization parameters within Seer. So the first thing we've got to do is we've got to click on the variable section of the system itself. Okay, and you can see that with the commodity channel index system, we have two parameters. One is called period and one is called back. Now, you obviously have a default value when you create these parameters, and these default values are used when you actually just backtest the system, right? So if we just click on backtest, we backtest some results, and these are the variables that we use. There's 14 and 3 that we used. Of course, now if we want to optimize the system, we have to do something slightly different. We have to give it a range of results. So what we can do is we can select the variable that we want to change. We click the edit button, it comes up a variable edit section, and what we want to do is we want to basically tell Seer to optimize this variable, the starting point, the starting value, the finish value, the ending value, and the step with which to optimize it. That means that this optimizer will run the numbers 5, 10, 15, 20, all the way through to 35 for this variable called period. Similarly, we have the variable called back, and this parameter will be optimized between the range of 2 and 10 with a step of 2. Okay. Now, sometimes, of course, for the purposes of this presentation, I've made my data set very small. I've basically selected my full data set, which is only 1 year of data, and I have set my system to have a daily heartbeat. That means I'm looking only at 1 day daily data for my trading system. Of course, if you have if you reduce that to 1 minute or 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever interval you're looking at, obviously your optimization is going to take much longer. But just for this presentation, bear with me and let me do it on daily data. The next important thing to look at, obviously, when you're doing optimization is, depending on the length of your optimization and how many permutations you have, you may want to change some of the settings of Seer. So if you go into Configure, Optimizer, you have some optimization settings with regards to how much processing power to use of your PC. So you can use all available processors like I have, or you can use one processor, or specify the number of processors that you want to use. For example, I say I want to use 2 processors. And of course, Seer tells us how many processors we actually have on our system. I've got a pretty fancy laptop. It's got a quad-core processor, and that's obviously showing me that I've got 4 processors involved. The thing about Seer and its optimization is that it runs all the optimization threads separately. That means it will run as many optimizations threads as you have processors, or the number of processors you specify. Okay, so let me specify 2, and so now Seer will use 2 of my processors for this optimization. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to just click on my little dollar button with 2 red arrows on it, and that basically means optimize the current selected system. So I will go ahead and click that, and my audio will disappear for just a moment while that optimizes. Okay, and so Seer has optimized, has run through about 35 or so combinations or permutations of results, and it's come up with some optimization results which are listed over here. Now, the first graph that comes up by default is what you would pretty much get in most platforms when you optimize a system, right? So for each run, you get a combination of variables, right? So for example, the first run number 1, you had a period of 5 and a back of 2. For run 2, you had a period of 5 and a back of 4, etc., 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 right? So you have, run number 23 had a period of 25 and a back of 6. And when you click on these rows, your results section at the top of your screen changes, right? Similarly, the run number corresponds to the run number on your graph over here, right? At this net profit graph, right? By run. Right? So, for example, run number 23, you can see is actually this run over here. Let's change this from a line to a bar. Run number 25, 24, 23 is this one over here. That's the one we're looking at. But it gets a lot more interesting, obviously, which is the reason why we're in this presentation. Okay, so the one thing is that most people do in their strategies is look at this net profit number. But the reality, and we all know it as kind of the more, I would call us the more sophisticated algorithmic traders, guys that can actually program and analyze the systems. Net profit is not necessarily a sign of a good system, right? There's other things one needs to take into account, peak to trough drawdowns, sharp ratios, etc., etc. So what Seer allows you to do is to actually visualize these results. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this new window button. And this new window button is now going to open up a new little visualization window. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it slightly bigger so you all can see it. And now what I can do is I can actually plot lots of different things. So now this is interesting. What I did is I switched my view from a by run to a 2D. Now 2D means I'm looking at my variables against each other versus net profit as the color. Okay, so my back variable is on the left on the y-axis. My period is on the x-axis. And the color of the graph actually represents the profitability of the system. Okay, now we can see immediately the system is most profitable at around a period of 30 and I guess a back of around 5. Okay, or even potentially 4. All right. What we can do though, this is only net profit. Let's add something else in, right? Let's add, for example, peak to trough drawdown. So now what we're going to be doing, as soon as your screen updates, is what we're actually doing now is we're actually looking at 2 different variables, right? So the first optimization here is against net profit. The second window is a peak to trough drawdown. Now what's interesting is to see how the two relate to each other. Notice how the biggest peak to trough drawdown is actually in this area over here, around 30 again. So although we're getting maximum profit, we're also getting a lot of drawdown. So, this is not necessarily a great place to be. What one might want to do is to try and minimize your drawdown. Now, the interesting thing is over here, we look like we've got some profit happening in this area here with a back of 5 and a period of around 20 and low drawdown. So this is now fascinating. And in fact, what we can do is you can actually plot this in 3 dimensions. And I'll just give it a bit of time for your screens to update. But what you can see is that Seer gives us those values in a 3D view as well. So you can actually see the troughs and the peaks. But because we're on WebEx on GoToMeeting, I'm just going to just switch it back to 2D because it's not as intensive on the bandwidth, and my screen updates a little quicker. Another thing I like to look at is my Sharpe ratio. Although we were discussing today at the office whether Sharpe ratio is actually a useful thing to look at, but let's just look at it for the purposes of this presentation. And let's also look at my percentage winning trades, just for the sake of choosing 4 graphs. So now Seer allows us to actually visualize what we actually want to do here. So now let's look at this. This is very, very interesting for us. So we're seeing the low drawdowns are the low peak to trough percentage drawdowns are somewhere around here, around 20, 21, 22, somewhere around there. And it's still profitable. So let's write down those numbers and try to remember them. And those obviously with a back of 5 or 4. Okay, a back of 4. And then our Sharpe ratio, unfortunately, is quite low at that point, very high up here. Although up here we're not making much profit, interestingly enough. And in terms of our winning trades, obviously the most winning trades that we're making is at the very, very top of the graph, on the top right-hand side of the graph. But we're making pretty decent percentage of winning trades over here, somewhere between 80 and 90, as we can see in the yellow. So this looks like a pretty decent system. So let's actually do this. Let's actually look at these results and actually pick some numbers. So let's choose period of around 21, 22, and a back of 4 or 5. And let's run the system again. So let's go back into variables, period of 22, and a back of 4. And what we want to do now is just want to back test. So we didn't optimize this time, we back tested this time. And we can look at some of our trading history. And this is what our trading history looked like. Of course, it's pretty meaningless. I'm using, we only made 7 trades. But what I'm trying to show you is I guess the process that one would go through to optimize. Now, the question always is when to optimize and when not to optimize, and I think that's one of the most important questions to ask oneself. So let's just quickly go back into the variable section. I'm just going to re-optimize the system, and I'm going to create my new window as I did before. Okay. Now, I am not a massive fan of optimization. There's an important reason why I'm not a big fan of optimization. The reason is I think the tendency is to over-optimize, and we all know what that results in. That results in systems which are work in very specific market conditions. Now, when I see images such as this, and of course this is a very basic commodity channel index system. When I see systems like this, I kind of stay away from them. I don't like to see profitable areas which are really peaks. Okay, so when I look at the net profit graph, over here, the net profit graph over here, I'm seeing really a graph or system in which net profit is very, very limited to a small section, right, to a small peak of results. Now, for me, that's not attractive. When I'm looking and evaluating a system, I'm looking for large, flat areas of profitable areas, right, of profitable regions, large, flat, profitable regions. So if you show me a peak like this, it doesn't really interest me. What I also like to look at is obviously the troughs as well, because troughs sometimes are indications for us to go the opposite way, right? Although again, if we look at this system over here, the trough is actually an inverse peak, right? There's no large flat area of a trough in the system. So again, there is even switching the directionality of this CCI system on daily candles isn't, might not even give us the results we want, because again, even if we switch the buys and the sells, again, we'll get a peak in the profitability. So, if you ask me, Ilan, is this a system you'd invest in? I'd say probably not. This is not the kind of profile I want to see. What I want to see in systems is large valleys of troughs or large, very broad ranging peaks for profit. Those are the kind of systems I want to trade. What I want to do now as well is I want to open up another system, as an example. I'm going to open up the basic RSI system. And here the basic RSI system, basically I'm just going to click on the system. Again, it's just daily candles, and I've got two variables here, RSI lower and upper, and I just vary those variables between the ranges of 5 and 20 with a step 5. The reason I made it such broad steps is for the purposes of this presentation, of course, so that you don't have to wait 30 minutes for me to do one optimization. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to optimize. Okay, so what I've done now is I've optimized the other system. Now we can see quite clearly that there comes a point in the, even look at this basic graph, there comes a point in this basic RSI system where there's simply no trades and no profit happening. And that's on the latter end of the system, right? So basically from run 10 onwards, you know, when RSI goes to 15, already there, the RSI lower value goes to 15, there's already very, very few results. Okay, but what's interesting here is there are some areas of profitability. So let's actually create a new window again and see how that looks. Okay, now this is absolutely fascinating, right? So so why is this fascinating? This is fascinating for a number of reasons. Firstly, you can see this big area of profitability. This is the kind of thing that you do want to see in a system optimization. You want to see big area of profitability. And interestingly enough, the peak to trough drawdown, right, is actually small in this area compared to the peak, the very large peak to trough drawdown on the top bottom right. So in fact, your net profit area is big. The area of the net profit is actually got a low drawdown. This is a great thing. Let's actually add some more in here. Let's see the I want to put percentage winning trades. Sorry, winning trades on the bottom left. Another interesting variable, percentage of winning trades, you can see is happening over here again, where the most profitability is actually happening. So this is quite interesting for us as a system. And certainly if I switch this to a 3D view, this is certainly the kind of systems that you do want to trade on. Of course, there aren't very many trades that have gone into the system because simply of my time range and the fact that I'm using daily candles for my testing period. But of course, I think it illustrates very clearly the type of characteristics of optimizations that you need to be looking for. These large, flat, broad spanning areas of profitability. Okay, so let's actually look at, oops, clicked the wrong button there. Let's look at those values. Let's say a value of 14 for upper and 10 for lower. 14 for upper and 10 for lower. Let me quickly switch that. 14 for upper, 10 for lower. And what we can do is we can just run a back test on that, not an optimization. And there we have some results. And we can just quickly look at the trade history. And that's the equity curve. Of course, it's pretty meaningless. We only made 3 trades. But certainly what I'm trying to do in this presentation is not really give you real examples, because I simply, we'd be here for hours, me trying to optimize these results. However, what I do want to do is give you some guidance with regards to what does and doesn't work. So let me show you one example, which I kind of hinted at last week's presentation. If you just look at the CCI system that's in your examples, and you set your minutes to 1 minute, right? What you'll actually do is, sorry, just give me a moment. I just want to change my, well, I won't change my variables. You can actually click backtest, and excuse me while I disappear for just a moment. I'll be with you all in just a sec. I seem to be overloading my computer with GoToMeeting as well as this backtesting. Okay, so there's Seer just did an optimization on 1 year's worth of 1 minute data. And then, of course, we can look at the trade history. Now, this is quite interesting because a regular CCI technique kind of works in the FX market. This was only done on Euro USD and GBP USD, and of course we can see the results and of course the breakdown by instrument of the components. And of course I've actually changed my settings. If you actually take the default settings that are within Seer, I don't remember what they are now, but you get a pretty smooth equity curve. And so of course I think one of the challenges that I want to provide you after this presentation is to literally just open up the Seer platform, open up the CCI example, and select your data range and literally just click the optimize button. Okay, it'll take a little bit of time. It'll take you like about 20 minutes or 30 minutes to optimize, but have a look-see at the optimization results as an exercise. It shouldn't take you more than 15 to 20 minutes. Most of the time, you can just go get yourself a cup of coffee or a bite to eat, and then come back and see the optimization results and visualize. Right? Once you've optimized, you just click on the little new window button and change the graph to 2D, and you're away. So I guess at this stage, what I want to do is that's kind of really the end of my presentation. So I want to try and handle some questions. So John, you are asking, can we download trade records from our live trading or other platforms to Seer so we can run the Seer analytics on them? No, no, you can't do that. You have to run the analytics within Seer. You have to either backtest or optimize within Seer, and then you can visualize them from inside Seer. You can't import historical results. No, that's something that can't be done at this stage. I wonder if there's any other questions at this stage? No? Okay. So I guess then... right. Sorry. Okay. So there's another question coming up now. Okay. So the question is, what is the difference between the results section and the optimizations? Okay. And the optimization results. All right. So let me quickly do that again. So let me quickly switch to a daily candles again, and I will do a backtest. When I do a backtest, I only get one set of results, right? Because the results were run against one set of variables, 22 and 44. All right? So I get one set of results. If I do optimize, okay, then I actually get, if you watch this results section over here, I actually click each of these rows of the back test, right, or the optimization, and it changes. The results pane actually changes, right? So this is important to know because the results you're seeing are actually results which are specific to the rows that you're looking at. Of course, if you want to, you can right-click these rows and export it to Excel or to a file or whatever it is. You can also view lots of different columns. I'm viewing all the columns. So if you want to, you can actually export these to Excel to run some more analytics about them in Excel. Of course, you can even right-click on the results themselves and print them or save them or export them to Excel. You can also do that. But just keep in mind that each result, the row of your results over here, actually results in a different set of results under the results section. That's very important. Okay, and I guess that is the end of our presentation for today. I hope you enjoyed the visualization and the cool graphics that Seer has got built into it. If you have any questions, right, sorry, we've got another question coming in. from Eugene. Give me a second. Let me read that. Okay, Eugene asked, I've tried to avoid optimizing because of curve fit fears, but this presentation seemed to hit on a particular use of optimization, testing for robustness based on the look of the correct. Okay, so yeah, let me go back to my example with the RSI. Let me just close this this CCI example, and let me open up the RSI example again, Eugene. Thanks for bringing that up. I kind of skimmed over it. Sometimes I don't know if I'm going too fast or too slowly, but let me quickly go into that again. So I've opened up my RSI and I've set my variable optimizations, and I just click backtest. All right, now I'm going to make this window slightly bigger again, just to talk about it. Now, yes, exactly what I'm looking for are large areas of profitability. What does this large area actually mean, right? This large area actually means that the variable RSI upper, sorry, the system is not very sensitive to this level called RSI upper. Okay, whatever that variable actually means in the system, right? It means that for a broad range of values for that variable, this system is still profitable. So what does that essentially mean? It means that if the market dynamics change just slightly, it means that your whole system is not going to be thrown out of whack and suddenly you face heavy risk of losses. Okay, and you can also see that even if things do change, you can see, let's say, the RSI lower, one could argue that it is more sensitive to RSI lower, okay, because let's say the optimal value for RSI lower is 10. But you can see that even if the markets change, right, and the optimized value for RSI lower is different, you can see that there's still a lot of yellow around it, a lot of profitable areas around your system. So it's not sensitive, right? So what we're trying to do is not really optimize for profitability. We're trying to decrease sensitivity, okay? And again, I'm going to make this value 3D. And you can see in 3D how this plateau of profitability exists, right? So it's not sensitive to the very small movements in your variables or very small changes in the market dynamics. So I think this is how Seer helps you to use optimization correctly and avoid over-optimization, simply due to the fact that you can't visualize more than one or two variables at the same time. So Eugene, I hope that I have tried to clarify your question. So avoid peaks. Like sharp peaks and sharp troughs, like this trough area. You want to look at these kind of big areas. I hope that answers your question. John definitely will email you about how to run your analytics and code within Seer. The tech team also offers services where we will actually port your code or any parts of your code under NDA from MT4 or Ninja or Easy Language into Seer, in order to run your backtesting and optimization. So, of course, we'll contact you subsequent to this presentation. Okay, and I see a lot of thank yous coming through. I appreciate everybody's time. I know everyone's busy and it's a time taken out of your day to listen to me talk. I hope you have found it interesting. And I look forward to your next presentation. Please have a look at last week's presentation. It was awesome. We got great reviews from last week's presentation. So I hope that you enjoy that one. It's very quick. It's only about 15 or 20 minutes. I hope you enjoy it, and we look forward to seeing you next week at our next presentation. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.